There's a curious pattern among people who truly accumulate power, money and influence, and almost no one talks about it. They don't explain themselves, they don't defend themselves, and most importantly, they feel absolutely no need to impress. While most people chase validation, try to prove their worth, and wear themselves out competing for attention, these people do the exact opposite. They withdraw from the noise. I'm observing. And they build strength where no one is looking. That sounds strange because it goes against everything you've been taught. They told you that you need to show off, justify yourself, sell yourself all the time. But Machiavelli had already warned, real power arises from a policy guided by reality, not by ideals. Those who over-explain themselves reveal their weakness. Those who show off too much arouse envy, and those who spend their time trying to be loved end up losing respect. The truly strong have understood something simple and brutal. It's better to be feared than loved, as long as they know how to avoid being hated. In this video, you'll understand why silence, abstinence, and independence create a gravity that makes the world revolve around you. You will understand why the calculated use of force, the appearance of virtue, and decisions based on real human nature have become invisible weapons in the hands of those who master the game. And if you apply this correctly, you'll stop chasing after and to start being sought after. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You're not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He usually begins by dismantling the most widely sold idea in the modern world, competition as a virtue. Ultimately, competing is rarely about excellence. It's almost always about external validation. People enter the game not to truly win, but to be seen winning. And that's where the trap lies. Whoever needs to prove their case is already at a disadvantage. Machiavelli already warned that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, begins by understanding true human nature. Competition feeds ego, not power. While two fight for the stage, a third builds the backstage. The end justifies the means only when the means do not expose you to unnecessary hardship. Competing publicly creates noise, creates enemies, and makes it difficult to avoid being hated. Those who compete for attention become its hostages. It's like two employees fighting over praise from the boss, while the discreet one learns the entire system. This one learns the rules of the game, not the pose. He understands virtù and fortuna, acting at the right time, not when there's noise. The competition becomes a golden collar, and those who accept using it call it ambition. The false promise of competition is simple: be better than others, and you will be respected. In practice, respect doesn't come from comparison, it comes from position. Those who constantly compare themselves to others waste time, energy, and strategic focus. The mentor often says, "True superiority doesn't shout, it asserts itself." Machiavelli spoke of decisions based on real human nature, not on motivational slogans. People don't respect those who chase after things, they respect those who don't need to. To compete is to react to the actions of others. To dominate is to define the playing field. See companies. Luxury brands don't compete on price. They withdraw from the competition and create scarcity. This is the calculated use of force without raising one's voice. In personal life, it's the same. Those who try too hard to prove their worth lose their aura. Those who don't get involved in the game become silent role models. And a reference never asks for permission. She simply starts being followed. True superiority arises when someone abandons the need to defeat others. He's starting to win against systems, not people. This change seems subtle, but it changes everything. By leaving the competition, he reduces friction, reduces exposure, and gains freedom. Freedom is power in its rawest form. Machiavelli would call this a strategy to avoid being hated while strengthening oneself. The focus shifts from applause to structure. The structure creates its own loyal armies, even if they are invisible at first. Competitors live in a constant state of alert. Those who withdraw, observe, learn, and adjust with constant adaptability. While others measure strength, he measures leverage. It doesn't seem like an immediate victory, and that's the point. The absence of haste confuses the impatient, and this confusion sets the stage for something bigger. Because when he stops competing, something curious begins to happen in the next step. He learns early on that the need to impress is a silent confession of weakness. Those who try too hard to charm are, deep down, asking permission to exist. Machiavelli observed that the appearance of virtue works best when it is not displayed. Performing to please others creates an emotional dependence on applause, and dependence is the opposite of power. When someone talks excessively about their achievements, they're usually compensating for insecurity. The mentor often jokes, whoever it is doesn't need to be announced. The constant attempt to impress drains strategic energy. Even worse, it creates expectations that backfire on you. This is where the principle of avoiding being hated comes in. Excessive brilliance breeds resentment. The calculated use of force includes knowing when not to use performance. True authority doesn't try to convince. It manifests itself through the alignment between action and silence. Those who act become predictable. Consistency makes it inevitable. Mystery, contrary to what some people sell, is not absence, it's gravity. When someone speaks little, people project a lot. And projection is a form of psychological power. Machiavelli understood virtù and fortuna as the mastery of time and perception. Mystery controls them both. Look at leaders who don't over-explain themselves. Every gesture counts more. At work, for example, those who deliver results without fanfare become a point of reference. Whoever announces everything becomes noise. The mentor suggests a simple exercise. Reduce public justifications by 50%. Let the work do the talking. This aligns with decisions based on real human nature. People respect what they cannot easily decipher. Strategic silence creates information asymmetry. Asymmetry creates an advantage, and a well-maintained advantage turns into dominance. Never acting also means abandoning characters. Characters get tiresome. Wearing masks requires constant vigilance. Machiavelli would say that this weakens one's own loyal armies because no one trusts the artificial for very long. Solidity comes from internal consistency. When someone stops impressing, they start attracting. It's counterintuitive, but true. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that people follow those who seem whole. Wholeness makes performance unnecessary. No further explanation is needed. It eliminates the need for emotional defense. This energy saving frees up focus for something bigger, something that doesn't depend on approval, something that begins to express itself in silence. And that's precisely where the strategy changes level in the next topic. He understands, over time, that excessive explanation is not clarity. It's an emotional refuge. Those who explain too much are trying to control how others interpret things, and this reveals a fear of judgment. Machiavelli already implied that decisions based on real human nature require accepting something simple. People interpret things as they wish. Explaining is an attempt to dispute the narrative with those who don't always play fair. The end justifies the means when the means preserve your position, not when they expose you. Every explanation creates a loophole. Every opening becomes an attack point. Those who defend themselves are taking on symbolic guilt even when they haven't done anything wrong. That's why strong leaders speak little after acting. They understand the calculated use of force, including verbal force. Silence, in this case, is not omission, it's strategic economics. Those who justify themselves place themselves below. Whoever supports the act remains on top. Emotional defensiveness is an invitation to manipulation. When someone notices you reacting, they start provoking you. Machiavelli warned of the importance of avoiding being hated, but never at the expense of one's own position. Explaining too much tries to please everyone, and that's impossible. The mentor often says, "He who needs to be understood by everyone will be respected by no one." In practice, think of work meetings. Those who refute every criticism lose authority. Those who listen, take notes, and adjust in silence earn tacit respect. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The reality is that power is not something to be debated, it is something to be demonstrated. Lengthy explanations turn force into debate. Debate dilutes power. Those who understand this abandon automatic defense mechanisms. He begins to choose invisible battles and win before the conflict even begins. Never explaining doesn't mean being arrogant, it means being selective. An explanation is only useful when it builds a structure, not when it tries to clean up an image. Machiavelli would call this virtù and fortuna in action, knowing when to speak and when to let time do its work. Time is the best advocate for those who do the right thing. Those who rush to defend themselves demonstrate a desperate need for validation. Haste breeds insecurity. Silence, on the other hand, denies the other party any advantage. Without a reaction, the attack dies down on its own. Without justification, the accusation loses momentum. This strengthens their own loyal armies because those paying attention perceive consistency. Consistency builds trust. Trust creates invisible authority. And this authority begins to manifest itself even more intensely when silence ceases to be a reaction, and it becomes a deliberate strategy at the next level. Here, the game changes completely, because silence ceases to be a defense and becomes an active tool. He learns that silence is not the absence of power, but concentrated pressure. Machiavelli understood that the calculated use of force includes knowing when not to move. Those who talk too much dissipate energy. Those who hold back accumulate tension around them, and focused tension creates control. In the silence, the other person fills in the gaps with assumptions, and it almost always projects more than you would ever say. This is politics, guided by reality, not by ideals. In reality, people reveal their true selves when they receive no encouragement. The mentor often says, "Give it enough slack and observe." Silence forces the other person to reveal their intentions, limits, and insecurities. Whoever reacts first loses the advantage. Whoever sustains the pause assumes the invisible center, and this center begins to attract everything around it. Strategic silence is not shyness, it is conscious restraint. Containment is an internal domain. Internal dominance precedes any external power. Machiavelli spoke of avoiding being hated, and silence helps with that. Speaking less reduces unnecessary conflict. It reduces promises that lead to demands later. It reduces emotional exposure. In practice, think about negotiations. The person who speaks first often reveals more than they should. Those who wait, listen, and observe gather information. Information is an asymmetric advantage. This advantage allows for decisions based on real human nature. The other person reveals their priorities without realizing it. It reveals urgency, fear, and anticipation, and all of this becomes strategic material. When silence becomes a conscious habit, something curious happens. People start to adjust to you. They talk more, they explain too much, they try to please, and without realizing it, they put themselves in an inferior position. Machiavelli would call this building one's own loyal armies without any rhetoric. Loyalty is born from the perception of solidity. Solidity arises from the absence of reactivity. Those who do not react cannot be easily led. This creates silent respect. Respect that doesn't ask for confirmation. Respect that is felt in the environment. And it is precisely this respect that paves the way for something even more powerful, the ability to strategically retreat and increase one's own value in the next step. He then realizes that constant presence diminishes value. The more available someone is, the less impact they generate. Machiavelli understood that virtue and fortune go hand in hand when one knows how to enter and exit the scene. Abstinence is not escape, it's calculation. Strategic withdrawal creates scarcity, and scarcity generates respect almost automatically. Whoever disappears at the right moment forces the other person to feel the absence. And a well-placed absence weighs more than a noisy presence. This is the calculated use of force in its purest form. The mentor often says, those who are always accessible become useful, not a point of reference. Withdrawal breaks the pattern of emotional consumption. It breaks the predictability, and predictability is easily exploited. Abstinence, on the other hand, reorganizes the game. She shifts the focus of the relationship. In practice, think about professional relationships. The employee who solves everything all the time becomes a disposable dependency. The one who resolves the issue, steps aside and returns at the right moment, becomes an authority. Machiavelli spoke of avoiding being hated, and abstinence helps with that. It prevents burnout, excessive demands, and saturation. The same thing happens in personal relationships. Those who are always available lose their sense of mystery. Those who retire with dignity increase their perceived value. This is not an emotional game. It's politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The reality is that people value what they don't have complete control over. Abstinence creates a small vacuum, and humans hate vacuums. Then he moves, and it reveals dependence without realizing it. Strategic withdrawal requires emotional control. Disappearing out of spite reveals weakness. Those who withdraw by choice convey strength. Machiavelli would say that this strengthens one's own loyal armies because it creates internal and external respect. Silence combined with absence creates gravity. Gravity doesn't call, it attracts. Don't ask, just pull. And the more someone tries to achieve, the more they expose themselves. Abstinence also protects your energy. It reduces mental noise. It increases clarity. It allows for decisions based on real human nature. Those who learn to leave the stage control the return. And when it returns on another level, a level that begins to become invisible to the untrained eye, preparing for the next stage. Here he understands one of the most underrated strategies of all, growing without being noticed. Machiavelli already made it clear that avoiding being hated often involves not arousing envy too early. The invisible ascent protects while it strengthens. Those who grow up quietly don't become premature targets. The mentor often says, noise attracts attention, not respect. While some announce plans, others build structures. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The reality is that the world reacts to the threat, not to the hidden potential. Being underestimated becomes a strategic camouflage. Camouflage preserves energy and freedom of maneuver. Machiavelli would call this the calculated use of force at the right time. Strength revealed too early becomes an invitation to attack. Strength matured in silence becomes a fait accompli. Those who learn this choose not to notice, and that choice changes everything. In practice, think of someone building wealth. Whoever announces each step becomes a target of opinion, envy, and sabotage. Those who grow up quietly preserve their focus, preserve relationships. It preserves the margin of error. This strengthens their own loyal armies, even though few know it. The mentor often suggests readings such as The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, precisely because of the logic of discretion. No spectacle, all structure. This path requires decisions based on real human nature. People try to curb what they understand. They ignore what they underestimate. And underestimation is the perfect disguise. While the world focuses on the spotlight, the silent one consolidates his position. No rush, no announcement. The invisible ascent also reduces the need for defense. Out of sight, out of mind. Machiavelli knew that the end justifies the means when the means protect progress. Growing discreetly avoids unnecessary conflicts. Avoid forced alliances, avoid emotional exhaustion. All of this generates accumulated advantage. When its presence finally becomes evident, it is already too late to react. The game has already been decided off the field. This creates an immediate psychological impact. The other person realizes they wasted their time, and time is irretrievable. This perception generates automatic respect, silent, almost uncomfortable respect. And it is precisely this respect that begins to make someone untouchable by design on the next level. Here he begins to outline his own untouchability, not out of arrogance, but out of strategic engineering. Machiavelli taught that true power is born by removing leverage points from others. Those who are too dependent can always be put under pressure. Pressure creates concessions. A concession creates a loss of position. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, stems from this simple diagnosis. Independence is not a luxury, it's a defense. Emotional independence reduces invisible blackmail. Financial independence reduces the urgency. Urgency weakens decisions. Without any urgency, he chooses. To choose is to have power in practice. This reinforces decisions based on real human nature. People exploit necessity, not force. Being untouchable is not about being isolated. It's about being free. Free to say no without guilt. Free to go out without fear. Machiavelli would say that this helps to avoid being hated, because those who don't need anything don't beg. In practice, think about income. Having multiple sources reduces submissions. Simple investments such as solid fixed income or participation in real businesses create margin. Marginal area creates calm. Calmness improves the perception of the environment. This is the calculated use of force. Force that doesn't need to be used. In the emotional realm, the principle is the same. Those who do not seek approval cannot be controlled by rejection. This type of person changes the dynamic of any room without saying a word. Untouchability also stems from zero predictability. If no one knows what motivates you, no one will pull you forward. Machiavelli would associate this with building one's own loyal armies, starting from within. Self-control creates immediate respect. Respect reduces attacks, reduces testing, reduces attempted intrusions. The mentor often says, where there's no button, there's no manipulation. Removing emotional buttons is liberating. This requires constant adaptability because the world changes. But those who are independent adapt quickly. Don't cling to weak positions. Don't despair over temporary losses. He understands that the game isn't about winning right now. It's about remaining inviolable while moving towards something greater that begins to take shape in the next frame. Here, he begins to see the game from above, like someone who goes up a floor and sees the whole board. It's no longer about winning isolated plays, but about controlling the structure in which they occur. Machiavelli spoke of this when he pointed out the importance of politics guided by reality, not by ideals. Results are a consequence, not a starting point. Those who focus only on the result are always reacting. Whoever controls the structure decides what can happen. Structure is silent power. She sets limits, paths, and costs for others. The mentor often says, "Whoever is in charge of the system doesn't need to be in charge of the people." Here, the calculated use of force appears as architecture, not confrontation. You don't push, you redesign space. Those who arrive later find invisible rules, rules that were not discussed, only accepted. This reduces conflict and increases authority. An authority that doesn't seek recognition. Controlling the structure requires a cold, detached view of human nature. Therefore, decisions based on real human nature are indispensable. People follow incentives, not speeches. They follow convenience, not promises. Those who understand this create easy paths to the behavior they desire. See companies that build entire ecosystems around their product. The customer doesn't need to decide much, just follow the flow. It's the same in personal life. Organizing routines, finances, and relationships reduces chaos. Less chaos means fewer openings for external interference. Machiavelli knew that this helps to avoid being hated because the control is impersonal. There are no direct orders, only natural consequences. No one feels attacked. Everyone just adapts, and those who adapt accept the silent leadership. In this final scenario, self-confidence ceases to be emotional and becomes structural. It doesn't depend on praise or a one-off victory. It arises from the solidity of what has been built. Machiavelli would call this the balance between virtù and fortuna. Virtue to build. Fortune allows you to seize the right moment. Whoever controls the structure doesn't panic when something goes wrong. Adjust, recalibrate, continue. This demonstrates strength without aggression. He commands respect without giving speeches. It strengthens its own loyal armies because people trust the system. Trust generates permanence. Permanence generates accumulated power. And when that power becomes established, something curious happens. The world begins to move around him, almost without him noticing, opening the next stage. At this point, he realizes that pursuing has always been the weakest strategy. Pursuit reveals need, and need delivers power. Machiavelli already showed that decisions based on real human nature stem from a simple fact. People move towards what seems solid. Natural attraction arises from gravity, not from effort. Those who chase after something demand attention. Whoever holds a position creates ground. The field pulls. The mentor often says that true influence is when others adjust without being asked. This is the calculated use of force without any external demonstration. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that tacit authority is worth more than overt persuasion. When someone doesn't need to convince, they convince more. The absence of haste conveys confidence. Security communicates leadership, and quiet leadership doesn't compete for space. She makes the space reorganize itself. When the world starts orbiting, invitations arrive unbidden. Opportunities appear without announcement. This is not luck, it is virtue and fortune in sync. Virtù para construir o centro. Fortune allows you to take advantage of external trends. Machiavelli warned against being hated, and here that happens naturally. There is no imposition, there is no confrontation, there is an attraction. People feel that getting closer brings advantages. In practice, this can be seen in business, relationships, and reputation. Those who are considered leaders receive better offers. Those who don't beg, choose. Choosing this option resets the entire game. And whoever chooses sets the pace without raising their voice. This gravity also filters out who stays nearby. Only those who are aligned remain. Opportunists stay away. This strengthens national and loyal armies, formed without forced recruitment. Emotional and financial independence underpin this position. Without dependence, no bargaining is possible. Without bargaining, there is no structural loss. Machiavelli would say that here the end justifies the means because the means was independence. Independence doesn't create something, it simply exists. She commands quiet respect. Respect that doesn't ask for validation. This respect sets the stage for the ultimate rule. A simple, almost invisible rule. One rule that sums up the entire journey, and that reveals itself as the ultimate law of silent superiority. Here, everything is condensed into a simple law, almost uncomfortable to accept. What you don't need can't be used against you. Machiavelli understood this when he spoke of decisions based on real human nature. Need creates dependence. Dependency creates vulnerability, and vulnerability will always be exploited. Those who don't need approval can't be blackmailed with rejection. Those who don't need immediate money don't succumb to pressure. Those who don't need status don't engage in pointless disputes. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The reality is that the world tests where it can squeeze. When it can't find buttons, it retreats. The mentor often says, freedom begins where necessity ends. This freedom redefines the concept of power, a power that is not displayed, but sustained. Silent superiority doesn't seek to dominate people, but situations. It is born from total independence, emotional, financial, and symbolic independence. Machiavelli would call this the ultimate balance between virtue and fortune. Virtue to build autonomy. Fortune allows you to enjoy the scenery without despair. Those who don't need to negotiate at a disadvantage don't. He doesn't accept emotional crumbs. They don't accept bad deals out of fear. This helps to avoid being hated because there is no direct confrontation. The simple act of refusal already communicates strength. In practice, think of someone who can leave any table. This person changes the atmosphere of the room without threatening, without explaining. Ultimate power lies not in controlling, but in being uncontrollable. This requires constant adaptability because the world changes. But those who are independent adapt without losing their bearings. Machiavelli would say that the calculated use of force here is almost invisible. There are no strikes, only positioning. There are no speeches, only choices. This attitude strengthens one's own loyal armies, starting with one's own mind. Self-control becomes a shield. Protection translates into respect. Respect creates space, and space becomes lasting power. None of this needs to be announced. None of this needs to be defended, because what doesn't depend on anyone remains. And it is precisely this silent persistence that closes the cycle and prepares the ground for the next movement beyond what has been said. Now the inevitable question is, what are you going to do with all of this? Because knowledge that doesn't translate into action becomes merely sophisticated entertainment. Have you realized that competing is exhausting, explaining weakens you, and showing off comes at too high a price? Machiavelli never spoke about power to feed ego, but to teach strategic survival in a real, not ideal world. From now on, whenever you feel the urge to justify yourself, show off, or compete for attention, it's worth stopping and thinking, does this strengthen me or expose me? Will you continue reacting to the actions of others, or will you begin to control the structure in which the game takes place? The silence you learned here is not passivity, it is mastery. Abstinence is not escape, it's repositioning. And independence is not isolation, it is freedom. Those who understand this stop asking for space and start occupying it naturally. So think about it. Who are you trying to impress today who doesn't control your future? What else do you need? Approval, instant money, recognition that might be being used against you without you realizing it. And most importantly, which emotional button do you need to remove now to become untouchable by design? If this content has opened something up in you, don't just let it stay as a reflection. Apply, observe, adjustment, and come back here to continue learning how to play with clarity, composure, and awareness. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and watch the upcoming videos, because this is just one level of the psychology of power that almost no one teaches. Those who understand move forward. Whoever applies it masters it.